he delivered his infamous, untouchable challenge to the public. What are you going to do about it?
The city paid the full amount, the contractor took a fee, and Tweed took 65%. The Spanish police did not have a photograph. They recognized his face from a Thomas Nast cartoon.
In 1867, the United States bought the entire territory of Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million.
At that exact moment, one man in Manhattan spent twice that amount on furniture for a single courthouse.
His name was William Mage Tweed, better known across the underworld as Boss Tweed.
To the starving public, he was a smiling philanthropist, handing out free winter coal and hot meals. Behind heavy oak doors, he ran the most ruthless and untouchable criminal syndicate in American history.
His gang did not rob banks at midnight. They bought the judges, the police, and the ballot boxes. And in broad daylight, they quietly stole hundreds of millions of dollars from the city of New York.
This is the unbelievable true story of how one man conquered and looted the capital of America.
To understand this colossal empire of crime, we must first step back into Manhattan in the 1860s. New York was not a modern paradise. It was a filthy, roaring metropolis fueled by coal and greed. Deadly disease swept through slums like the 5 Points, where thousands lived in total squalor. Yet right above this poverty flowed an endless river of municipal contracts, taxes, and raw cash.
At the heart of this gold rush stood Tammany Hall, a political society turned private mafia. Tweed realized that real political power belonged to whoever controlled the new immigrant vote.
Every morning, wooden passenger ships docked at Castle Garden, packed with exhausted Irish immigrants.
They arrived with empty pockets, only to be warmly welcomed by Tweed's sharp-dressed street agents.
Tammany provided immediate jobs, warm clothing, and citizenship papers forged in 30 seconds.
In return for this instant charity, Tweed demanded only one thing: their unconditional vote.
When legal votes were not enough, Tweed unleashed brutal gangs like the Bowery Boys.
These men arrived early in the morning, presenting themselves as ordinary, registered voters.
Shaved down to sideburns, changed their coats, and voted again in another district.
Shaving completely clean by afternoon, each man could vote 4 times under dead men's names. By 1869, Tweed held absolute dominion over every branch of the New York state government. He handpicked the mayor of New York, the city comptroller, and the chief of police. No law could pass, no building could be built without Tweed's personal rubber stamp. With the entire justice system firmly in his pocket, Tweed prepared for the ultimate heist. The city treasury was full of gold, and Tweed had the only key to the vault.
What followed was a masterclass in corruption that stunned the entire civilized world. The 4 leaders of this conspiracy formed an elite inner circle known as the Tweed Ring. Their method was shockingly simple: bill the city massive sums for jobs that never happened. Road repair cost $10,000. The contractor submitted a bill for $100,000.
The city paid the full amount. The contractor took a fee, and Tweed took 65%.
Their crown jewel of greed was the new county courthouse in City Hall Park. Originally budgeted at $250,000, the final cost exceeded $14 million.
That was more than double what the United States paid to purchase the entire state of Alaska.
The bills approved by Tweed's committee reached levels of pure, unadulterated comedy.
Andrew Garvey, a plasterer, was paid nearly $3 million, earning the title Prince of Plasterers.
The city paid $180,000 for just 3 tables and 40 chairs. $41,000 of taxpayer funds was billed exclusively for sweeping brooms.
With his cut of the loot, Tweed lived like a European emperor in the heart of America.
Purchased racing yachts, diamond-studded jewelry, and massive estates across the countryside.
When bold journalists dared to question the missing millions, Tweed stared into the press and scoffed.
He delivered his infamous, untouchable challenge to the public. What are you going to do about it?
For years, nobody could touch him. Tweed paid off newspapers with lucrative advertising deals. Any newspaper that refused his bribes had its printing presses smashed by corrupt police squads.
Enter Thomas Nast, a fearless German immigrant illustrator working for Harper's Weekly. Nast began publishing devastating, merciless political cartoons that exposed Tweed's massive web of greed.
Even illiterate immigrant workers who could not read English immediately understood Nast's drawings.
Tweed panicked, screaming at his aides, "Stop them damn pictures! My voters can't help seeing them!"
Tweed sent an agent offering Nast $500,000 in cash to stop drawing.
Looked at the mountain of cash, smiled calmly, and flatly refused the fortune.
Then, the fatal blow arrived from a bitter city clerk who was denied his share of loot.
In the dead of night, he walked into the New York Times and handed over the secret books.
On July 22, 1871, the New York Times printed the evidence on its explosive front page. The secret was out. Tweed had robbed the citizens of New York of over $200 million.
The invincible political empire that ruled New York for a decade collapsed almost overnight.
Tweed was arrested, indicted on 200 counts of corruption, and sentenced to prison.
Yet even as an inmate, Tweed was granted luxurious daily carriage rides through Central Park.
During a stop at his Sunel's brownstone in 1875, Tweed slipped out the back and vanished. The most famous criminal in the world was now on the run across the Atlantic Ocean.
Disguised as a rough sailor with a long, unkempt beard, he landed safely in Vigo, Spain.
He believed he was finally beyond the reach of American justice. But he was wrong. The Spanish police did not have a photograph. They recognized his face from a Thomas Nast cartoon.
The very drawings Tweed tried to destroy had ultimately hunted him across the globe. Tweed was dragged back to New York in chains, bankrupt, sick, and completely abandoned. On April 12, 1878, Boss Tweed took his final breath inside a cold prison cell. In poetic irony, he died inside Ludlow Street Jail, a prison he himself had commissioned.
The man who once owned the entire city of New York died with only $40.
Adjusted for inflation, Tweed's Ring stole over $4 billion in less than a single decade. The Tweed Courthouse still stands tall in Manhattan today, an eternal monument to the grand heist. Boss Tweed proved that when democracy falls asleep, there is always a predator waiting in the dark.
If you loved this deep dive, hit subscribe and comment below. What historic scandal should we expose next?